Terrorism befalls Great Britain, and it's time to do something about it. Hi, everyone. Michael Newman. Thank you for joining my YouTube channel. Terrorist attack, Manchester, England, my friends, across the Atlantic Sea. And the reaction is typical. The reaction is anger, and I understand the reaction. It is a horrible attack against people who didn't deserve it, against children. It is the worst that humanity has to offer, and we react accordingly. But should we? Should we react with the anger? Should we show them the anger? Should we give them what they're looking for? It hasn't worked in the past, I'll tell you that. The anger, the motion within society, changing our countries, changing the Western way of life irrevocably in a political fashion is exactly what the terrorists want to do. So, how do we combat terrorism? Maybe we just try to ignore it. Oh, that sounds awful. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? Let me tell you something. I live in Topeka, Kansas. There's a group here in Topeka, Kansas called the Westboro Baptist Church. Just a wonderful, just fun-loving group of guys and gals that hate gay people. And they very much enjoy doing things like protesting at funerals. Well, they do these things for one purpose only, to get in the news. That's right, for people to know that they exist. Well, at least here in our fair city, it is nary a day that you ever hear the words Westboro Baptist Church mentioned by anyone. And they're here. We see them all the time. They'll go out to they protest the Arby's. They have a sign that says bitch burger, which I don't understand. I kind of want to ask them about the bitch burger because I think it's funny. But in truth, you don't hear about them in local radio or local TV. Paper doesn't talk about them. We just sort of ignore them. And largely, they've become a non-factor in our little town here. I think that may be the course that we need to set for terrorism in general, because if we continue to allow terrorism to have a political effect on society and such a political effect that we will completely abandon and give away our Fourth Amendment constitutional rights, then they're winning. When any major catastrophe like this happens, YouTube is alive with commentators giving their 2 cents on what's going on. One of the guys that I really like online, he's been there for a long time doing YouTube. I think it's, 10 years? Longer than that, maybe 15 years, 20 years, something like that. I just checked out a show a couple of years ago, something like that. His name is Stefan Molyneux. He has a website called Free Domain Radio, has a lot of good things to say. Very little will we disagree. But he did a reaction video. He called it What Pissed Me Off About... it's a series of videos. What pissed me off about this, that, and the other thing. This just happened to be about the terrorist attacks happening in the UK. And he said some things that I think are out of season for him. And I think the reaction itself is born out of emotion, and it's not necessarily correct.
Here was the problem for certain twisted ideologies that infest and infect this world. You see, what happened was people were out there at this concert having fun, enjoying themselves, the base sense pleasures of music and dancing and sing-alongs. They were enjoying a performer, they were enjoying the performance, they were enjoying the music. And we can't have any of that, can we, for some people? No fun to be had.
That is a mischaracterization of what actually happened. The idea that terrorists walked in and blew up this place simply because people were having fun there is not what happened. What did happen was they recognized a valuable target, a soft target. Not only that, but a target where they can ensure the most amount of emotional damage. That's what you're looking for, emotional damage. Terrorism really doesn't care about killing people, frankly. It doesn't. Or drowning people or cutting heads off. That's just an ends to a means. That is a tool in the bag of a terrorist to cause emotional damage and emotional harm. That emotion that is spread out amongst the living is what changes policy, and that's what they're looking for.
London Mayor Sadiq Khan warned Londoners. He said terrorist attacks are just Part and parcel of living in a big city. Really. This is basically a children's concert. This is Ariana Grande. She appeals to the younger set. What if it was your kids, Sadiq? Your kids being assembled to be identified, being carted out in body bags with nails being driven through their eye sockets and limbs being blown off. Is that just part and parcel of living in a big city? You've got security. You've got bodyguards. You're safe. Are you going to be so blasé if it's your kids?
It's an argument that gets used all the time. What if it was your kid? What if it happened to you? You'd think different if you were in somebody else's shoes. Well, let me answer that real quick. If it was my child or somebody very close, somebody in my family, if it was somebody close to me, then I should be making no decisions, as I am not capable of making decisions. Decisions aren't made through emotion. They're made through rationality. So the people who aren't involved, the people that aren't emotionally attached to the event, are the ones that should be making the decisions, not the ones that are biased.
Now everyone's trying to help. God bless them. I think it's wonderful that they're trying to help, offering up places to stay, offering to look for people, offering to put people in contact with other people. Great. I love that people do that. I'd love it even more if they did that just a little bit ahead of time. It's one thing to respond to this kind of murderous attack. It's another thing to work intelligently to prevent these things from happening.
And that's the one that really surprised me, because Stefan is not a big government guy by any means. He doesn't like government, and he has reasons for it. I agree with him. He speaks out against a surveillance state, and essentially in that instance, he is calling for the surveillance state. Now, he uses the word smart or intelligent ways of finding these guys, but the truth is you can't. There is no way to prevent terrorism on this scale. Can't do it. Government will lie to you and say that they can, and in the process, they will do what they did here in the United States and remove from you your Fourth Amendment rights. They will simply throw away a part of the Constitution with the wave of a wand and a judge's okay. But they won't fix the problem. And by the way, here's a little secret for you. They don't want to fix the problem. Government loves terrorism for the same reason terrorists love terrorism, because it makes people emotional. And emotional people are pliable. They will believe whatever you tell them, and if you promise them security, they'll give up their life. Now, let's get a couple of things clear here. I'm not saying forget about terrorism, completely ignore terrorism. Not what I'm saying at all. We must fight terrorism. We must fight the terrorists, but using legal means. And if those means to fight terrorism go above and beyond the Constitution, then no, we're not going to do that. As a matter of fact, it's not necessary to do that. The new Patriot Act spying that has been put in place has not shown itself to be capable of stopping terrorism. In fact, one of the most quote-unquote secure places in the United States should be the airports, right? With all the scanners and the federal employees now at the TSA. Hey, we should be safe. When in fact we're not, because 95% of weapons that are attempted smuggled onto the plane get there. And that's according to the government's own statistics. So I'm not saying forget about terrorism, fight terrorism. What I'm saying is don't let it control your life, and don't be emotional about it. We must start making rational decisions and rational choices regarding terrorism and how we're going to deal with it. Do not ratchet up the emotion, whether that emotion be fear or anger. They always will turn into a bad thing. Patriot Act came because of anger. We bought into anything. We want to act tough on terrorism, so we're going to let the government do whatever it wants to do. And in fact, instead of fighting terrorism, which could have been done through our immigration policy, they decided that they were going to strip away the rights of the American people. Now, everything I've said, is it going to stop terrorism? Is it going to prevent it from happening again? Is it even going to make a dent in it as far as the number of terrorist acts? Answer is no, but it will safeguard the Western way of life and help to ensure liberty into the future. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please go to my website, michaelnewmanproductions.com. There you can support the show. Click the big blue support icon. That takes you to the Patreon page where you can pick up the daily 30-minute podcast, or sometimes longer, like today. Plus, like and subscribe on my YouTube channel and tell everyone you know about The Michael Newman Show.